Hi, everybody. Welcome to our next session on automation dreaming. We're really happy to be here today with Kay, who's going to tell us all about knowledge intelligence with Salesforce and Slack. So, Kay, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it from here.
Absolutely. I wanted to take a moment to define what knowledge intelligence is. But before that, let me introduce myself. I love innovating products, coming up with being a geek at heart with all of you. Been in nonprofit and for-profit boards, done some investments, but the most of all, I love speaking, and I haven't done that in a while. Um, really happy to be in the show. Most of it love customer data because I think we have gone through the evolution of data where we have made every transaction system pretty good, very solid, and satisfy the customer needs. But we are at a point where customer data coming back, giving back into the enterprise is really where, and I'm happy that we at Ascendo are able to be part of that journey. That's the love customer data. What I am going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can do, the magic we can do with Salesforce and Slack, how we can bring the data together, but most importantly, show you things from the Slack directory and stuff that you can play around. And then I was planning to leave the last 5 to 10 minutes for questions if there are any. I'm also available on Slack or LinkedIn if that's a better way to continue the conversation. With that, um, everyone here is SFDC experts, so I don't have to go into it, but SFDC comes in with a wealth of structured data. There's a lot of transactions we do from a sales perspective, customer support perspective, using CRM, where we store a ton of customer data contacts. And all of the day to day interactions that we have through various different channels are there in Salesforce, along with pieces of knowledge too. There is quite a few people who have enabled the knowledge objects and have connected to various pieces of knowledge that's there within the enterprise. But we are also going to look at scenarios where knowledge can be outside, which is where Slack comes in. It's more a conversational platform that we all use. It's mostly non-transactional. So if I ask a question and Wiki answers, there is a unstructured data where of a piece of knowledge that gets created that diminishes right after that, right? So what we are looking at is how can we bring in the structured data with the unstructured data. So the example that I was talking about, where I'm asking a question and Wiki answers, who am I? What am I doing? What Salesforce objects do I have? And how am I connected to the enterprise is all in SFDC. And me collaborating with Wiki and having that conversation is happening within Slack. So it's a point in time, and it's a conversational platform. I'm simplifying both the platforms, but I'm doing it such that we move forward with the intelligence part. So now I kept the baby animal pictures that came in with the template. It felt that it was pretty good to have it to see the putting the two together. So when we talk about knowledge management, how do we take in pieces of knowledge that we already know from within the enterprise to the knowledge that we don't know and bring in the intelligence, right? So having a conversation, and during the conversation, somebody is happy, somebody is not happy, or somebody is an expert, someone is not someone is a novice. The recency of when the conversation happened. There is a lot and lot and lot of parameters that go. We humans think about pieces of knowledge and reusing those pieces of knowledge. We know, oh yeah, I read that, but that's really old. what I'm looking at right now, 2 days ago the data changed, and that's probably what I need to use. We know inherently in our minds how to use that data and when to use the data for whom and what data to trust. Also, we know, oh, this person is an expert in this. So that's the kind of intelligence that we are talking about when we talk about knowledge intelligence. I am going so fast, so I may pause and ask a few questions. I'm also in screen share mode, so I'll come back to the meeting room to be able to look at some questions. So please post it in the chat box. Um, before we go see it in action, give me 1 second. I am going to share a few other screens here. What I'm sharing is a the Slack workspace. So if you want to play around with me, so you can find within the Slack workspace as a Slack marketplace, the app you can download, you can install it, and in your instance, and you have an ability to connect with Salesforce. You also have the ability to just upload data and play around with it. So you have all of that ability. How to go ahead and do it, what I'm sharing is predominantly is in the website. um, and you can see most of them are GIFs, so you can play around, look at this information, look at the data. There is also a little install guide at the end. It's just a couple of pages if you need help to go ahead and do any installation. With that, I am going to pause to see if there are any questions on the chat before I go. Okay, so I'm going to start off with creating pieces of knowledge from what we already have, right? So in this particular question, someone is asking a question, and the person needs help, but they wanted to keep track of that question. So what they did is here. The question was saved as a particular as a issue. That's all. So it's and then is asking Ascendo for help. Ascendo is going looking at previous sources of knowledge, if there is any. It's pretty much mimicking the human behavior of problem solving and coming up with, okay, here are the possible solutions for the question that you asked for, and you can respond back. Anyone can go back and say, okay, here's a response, so you don't have to recreate responses every single time, and respond back to the user in a way that is more satisfactory. You can update the response. Now what you're seeing is the user is coming back and asking another question, for which I know there is either not a solution or it's a brand new topic that I'm going to go ahead and create a solution myself. So I'm typing it in and I'm coming up with, here's the answer for this particular question. But I also know this is going to become popular, and I don't want to keep repeating. I don't want to type the same thing. I don't want to go through this ever again and again and again. That's where my human intelligence is going to help not only people within the company, but outside. So, here, first of all, I'm making sure that I am answering the question and I am saying the right thing, even if I am the expert in this particular topic. And once there is confirmation with respect to, here is something that will be very helpful. What I am doing is, here I'm solving the issue, but most importantly, what we are seeing here creating a know-how. And when you create a know-how, if you notice, what we are seeing is automatically a recognition of natural language understanding of what was the question that was asked, what are the things that can be added to it, and what is could be the possible answer. So there is a detection of what is a question, what's an answer, because in a conversational platform we are having a lot of discussions back and forth. We are saying, hey Vicky, good morning. Hey Mark, today. So all of those may or may not be a right pieces of knowledge. So we wanted to pick the intelligence goes in picking out what could be a question, what could be an answer, what could be a right piece of knowledge that can be stored, and how should it be stored. So once that is done, so any piece of unstructured data is also a structured piece of information. This is one way knowledge gets created from unstructured back into structured. So that's one. The second thing we did go through, but we went through really fast, and I'm going to go through specific ways on how it can done. When we have a recommendation engine or a solution engine, what it does is it looks through the parameters of that we talked about and more, to be able to harness the sentiment of what is being asked, the tone of what is being asked, and the intent of what is being asked, right? So here in this particular case, it's using the word prediction, which can mean one thing in one context versus something else in another context. Take the example of timeout. Timeout is a classic thing, right? Timeout being used in a networking versus a vision software versus a Slack kind of platform will be very. So, bringing out the intent, the context, and the relevance of what is being asked and what do you need to predict is a key. In addition to it, one of the biggest issues that we see in conversational platform is not having an ability to be able to look at specific issues or track issues and say, hey, here are the type of issues that are coming in. Um, um, what is being tracked by whom, when should I respond back again, and when should I respond back again, and all of that. I'm having a little bit of trouble with playing this one. Okay. So here, as topics come in the unstructured conversation, not only I'm making pieces of knowledge, but I'm also keeping track of the various types of issues. And I can go back and say, here's something I need to respond back to. Mark asked this question, I didn't even respond back to it. And I could have answered this particular question in a much different way. So it's an ability to go ahead and I want to track it. I want to flag it so I can go ahead and answer this in a specific way. This one I need to do more research before I could answer, so I'm going to put it on hold so I can research, come back. But I'm not forgetting all of this. It's all there for me, so I can come back to my list of items that I need to do and come back to be able to satisfy those items. So that's predominantly what we are looking at to be able to create unstructured data and have workflow and make it very transactional. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and open up for a few questions. Okay, so just needed to.
Yeah, I was just going to hop on to say thank you for such an awesome demo and a really smooth demo for a live one. So thanks for sharing. I know that one question that people usually ask is what sort of resources or where can you go to learn more about about Slack and how to use it with Salesforce. Do you have any particular good ones? Would you say Trailhead's a good place to go? Or
Yeah, I put in a few links here, and I was also sharing a few links in the Slack marketplace,
oh,
also within the Ascendo website. And I have all of those links here. There is also a few blogs if there is interest in reading blogs about knowledge intelligence and what knowledge intelligence mean within either the customer service contacts or outside. And I have this one is my personal LinkedIn, but you can also go to Ascendo LinkedIn and start getting engaged there. So all of that are the resources. I hope I answered your
uh,
question, Vicky.
absolutely. And if you don't mind sticking those into the chat because the slides aren't clickable here, but that is perfect. So everybody knows where to go to find out more. And I'll go ahead and I'll stop the recording here. So thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, guys.